All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachak Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is um, The Covenant of Sacrifice and the Promise. And this is just somewhat landbacking off of the lesson from yesterday, which we touched on the covenant, of sacrifice and, what it means in Hebrews, the 8th chapter, when it spoke about the old one, the first becoming old and ready to decay and wax old, is ready to vanish away. And we explain what that is as dealing with the law of sacrifice when you understand the two covenants. And I mentioned the book of Hebrews, the 9th chapter, but we didn't read any of it. We read the 10th chapter, which goes into it beautifully. So in this one, we're going to go through the 9th chapter, because these are important chapters to know too, because it all deals with the blood sacrifice, the covenants, who they were given to. And matter of fact, before we start, let's go to the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 50. And this was one of High Priest Ariel's favorite precepts too. I remember he used to go to this a lot. Psalms chapter 50, verse 5. And it reads, "Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice." All right? Because the first covenant was a sacrifice covenant. So is the second covenant is a sacrifice covenant. These are the covenants that these wacky-tacky Christians like Vocab and the so-called apologetics are trying to replace and add all people to it, which they're adding and taking away from the book, which we're going to get to that in this lesson, Lord's will. So it says, "Gather my saints together unto me," which we know that the saints are the Israelites. The word saints means holy. Why are they holy, or why are we holy? Because the Lord made us holy by giving us his laws, statutes, and commandments. That's what made us holy, not of ourselves, but the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave us to separate us from all nations. It says, "So gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice." And we know that the only saints of the Heavenly Father are the Israelites. All right? So let's get into it. Hebrews 9:1. "Then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary." Right. And when you understand the first covenant is a blood covenant. The Lord gave Moses, the mediator, law, statutes, and commandments to give to us. Moses read the covenants to us. We agreed, and after the agreement, the signature on it was the blood of these particular animals, whether it was rams, bullocks, sheep, depending on the sacrifice. But in this particular one, the blood of animals was shed to seal the deal, because almost all things are by the law purged in blood, as you read on further down. And a covenant is only a force after it's signed, so to speak. And the signature of the first covenant, which married us to the Most High, was the blood of these particular animals. And the Lord is very specific in the animals that he chooses, that he wants, in order for us to get close to him. So that particular sacrifice was done away with. This is why Yahushua mentioned in the book of Matthew, the 5th chapter, and the 17th verse, where it reads, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy it, but to fulfill." Why? Because there were many things written of him that he had to fulfill, and he still hasn't fulfilled everything, because there's still scriptures in the Old Testament that are to be fulfilled on his second coming. And it goes on to read, it says, "For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled." And the thing that was fulfilled when he came to fulfill the law was what was written about him, in order for him to become that blood sacrifice to give force to the second covenant. Okay? So now we no longer sacrifice, because when you read, there's many scriptures you could go to, but one of the main ones I always remember is Isaiah, the 1st chapter, where the Lord said he didn't want to do away with your sacrifices. You know, all that stuff is an abomination to me now. He didn't want to know about the feast, of us keeping his feast, sacrifice to him, nothing, because Jake ran that to the ground. And that's why Yahushua had to come on the scene. So the two covenants, which these wacky-tacky Christians are trying to incorporate themselves in, were covenants that were made with the nation of Israel particularly. Not the covenant of, the rainbow, dealing with the Lord not destroying the earth by water, which covenant he made with the whole earth, everything living. Not the covenant of circumcision, as Elder Apostle Tahar brought out, both of those, because when the Lord gave Abraham that covenant, he pretty much circumcised his servants, his whole household. Ishmael, then when the 6 sons of Keturah were born, they were circumcised, so on and so forth. All right. So going back to Hebrews 9:2, for there was a tabernacle made, the first wherein was the candlestick and the table and the shewbread, which is called the sanctuary. That was the first part of the temple. And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all. So the holy of holies was where the high priest would go into. And this is why Yahushua was named a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Because Melchizedek came on the scene, before the law was established and written down on stone, before the tribe of Levi was born. It said while the tribe of Levi was still in Abraham's loins. So wait a minute. Do you mean to tell me that Abraham, that Leah committed necrophilia? She had sex with Abraham, because they said that Levi was still in the loins of Abraham before any tithes were paid to Levi. You see what these wacky-tacky Christians do? They bring nothing but confusion. And the simple-minded out there are going to get trapped up because they don't have the eye salve to be able to see it. And then those same individuals are the ones that buck up against the truth when it's being brought out by the men of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But let it be. All right, so going back, Hebrews 9:4, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant, and over it the cherubims of glory shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly, because we don't know where the ark of the covenant is, but we know that everything that was in the sanctuary, the tabernacle, the holy of holies, the ark of the covenant, that was all replaced by Yahushai. And that's why it was called the mercy seat, because the Heavenly Father will come down once a year, show his presence to accept the sacrifices for the remission or the expiation of the sins of the nation of Israel. That's why it was known as the mercy seat. Now we got a clean slate for the next year. So when Yahushua came down, he became that ark of the covenant, that mercy seat, the mercy that mercy of grace that was extended to us, to where now we don't have to make any more of those sacrifices because our iniquities are forgiven. If once we accept Yahushua, we continue in that path. So it says, now when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of the Most High. And this is why that service of the Most High that was being accomplished by these priests was for who? For the nation of Israel. This is why it's important to marry precept upon precept. This is Romans chapter 9, verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed for Yahushai, from Yahushai, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of the Most High, and the promises, with an S. The service of the Most High was what? The cult, which means service or worship. The cult or the worship of the priesthood, and and them officiating the business for the nation of Israel, and that was only given to the nation of Israel. That's why we read in the book of Hebrews 9:6. Now, when these things were thus ordained, the priests went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of the Most High. To who? To the nation of Israel. I just want to check something now. Something came to mind. I want to take a quick look, see what this says in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. I am curious, so I just want to take a quick look. Yeah, man, they're going totally off. So Lord's will, I could actually go into that. That might be a good lesson. So Lord's will, if I remember, I'll go into that. Matter of fact, let me just write that down. That'll be more than likely to be a pretty good lesson, Lord's will. All right, so going back, Hebrews 9:7. But into the second went the high priest alone, once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people. And that's why it was offered, for the errors of the people, to expiate or to propitiate, to wash away those sins by the blood. But the thing about it was that couldn't make us perfect, because there was always a remembrance of these sins, no matter if you were forgiven for them and it moved out of the way. There was always that mind of that particular iniquity and sin. And this is why one of the main things when the kingdom of heaven is established is the changing of these stony hearts into the fleshly hearts. See? To where we'll be in total righteousness. So it says, the Holy Spirit, this signifying that the way, which is who? Yahushai, into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest, while as the first tabernacle was yet standing. See? So this is why the Lord had to make a way to get rid of that and to bring in the second covenant. And this is why we read in Jeremiah, the 31st chapter, and the 31st verse down, about those covenants. And this is why the Apostle Paul referenced that in Hebrews, the 8th chapter, when he was explaining to the Israelites, the Hebrews, because they were still sacrificing animals. And he was telling them, look, you don't have to do that anymore. Yahushua already covered that. And he was going through the precepts and the scriptures and showing them and breaking it down for them. It says, which was a figure for the time then present. Yeah, because the law was a schoolmaster unto us to bring us to Yahushua. But the laws are not done away with. See, this is the fault and the so-called Christians and the so-called Old Testament heads. The Christian heads and the Old Testament heads. The Christian heads do away with the law. They say the law is done away with. The Old Testament heads say you can only be saved by keeping the law, because they don't believe that the Messiah came. So they're both in error. The perfect understanding of that is that there's a perfect balance in between. We're saved by faith and grace through the blood of Yahushua, but we also keep the law to the best of our ability. See? It says, which was a figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect, as pertaining to the conscience. And this is why there has to be a changing of the mind, which is the conscience. So it starts in the truth. It starts when you first start to wake up. Let me see if I can remember these two precepts. Salaki, let me get them quick before I forget. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So, Ephesians 4:22. That you put off concerning the form. Matter of fact, I started at 21. If so be that you have heard him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Yahushua. See? This is why Yahushua said, I am the way. Because he was the one that made it possible to get to the holiest of holiest, the true holy of holies, which is where the Most High's throne is at. So he was the way. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. See? So that is the way or the path to take to get to the Father, because Yahushua is the mediator. A mediator is a go-between. He's like a lawyer. You know, he's the go-between between the judge and the accused. The Heavenly Father being the judge, we being the accused. All right? So it says, that ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, because these bodies are susceptible to these deceitful lusts, and be what? Renewed in the spirit of your mind, meaning returned back to the former state of perfection. And only the nation of Israel could go back to that. All right? It says, and that you put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. All right? So that begins where? That begins in the mind. And this is why these corruptible bodies will be changed. And when these corruptible bodies are changed, there's going to be also a changing of our mind. Stony heart out, fleshy heart in. And then once that perfection of the body and the spirit is accomplished, then the icing on the cake, or the cherry on top, is the laws inserted into our inward parts. Man, that's a trifecta like a mother, you know? You know what I mean? That's a trifecta like a mother. That's perfection, excellence, magnificence. And see, we speak about it, we read about it, we talk about it, but we really don't know how exactly it's going to be. Even the brother with the most imaginative mind, the greatest imagination, we could only attain to so much understanding of it. To where we really, when we speak about it, we really don't do it justice. We can only give like a shadow of what it's going to be, because we're speaking on the experience of our human existence in our corruptible state. So just imagine the magnificence of how it's going to be when the kingdom of heaven is established, you know, and how powerful, how impactful it's going to be. We just have an inkling to what's coming. We have an insight, Barakatah Yahweh Shemal Shai. We can see, we've tasted it, and we hope to continue in it and to receive the benefits of it, you know, but we only have an inkling of what's to come. So going to Ezekiel 36:25, it says, then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean. See? From all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you, because there has to be a cleansing first. The body has to be cleansed. The mind has to be cleansed. The body has to be changed. The mind has to be changed. So we're going through the transition right now where our minds are being cleansed, and we're being shown and taught and guided into the way of perfection. but it will not be cemented until the second covenant is fulfilled in the kingdom and everything is changed, period. And then we will be these magnificent, for lack of better words, extraterrestrial creatures that righteousness just beams off of. And this is why we're going to have that glow, that magnificent glow in the kingdom of heaven. And the people of the other nations, they're going to know when the Israelites are around. They're going to feel that presence. They're going to see that shine, that glow. They're going to have their heads bowed down to the earth. They're not going to be looking at us in the face, talking shit to us. They're not going to have bad thoughts about us. And if they do, we'll know. It says, verse 26, a new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you, and will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and will give you an heart of flesh. And this is how we're going to be able to be pleasing in the sight of the Lord. This is why Revelation 21, where it speaks about the kingdom of heaven, they said there was no altar there. You know, because the Lord Yahweh and Yahweh Shai are going to be the altar thereof. Let's go real quick to the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and 17. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So the Lord is going to put us into a pristine state. A pristine state, man. Let's see. Verse 27, back in Ezekiel 36. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. And then when you read the 36th chapter, which is dealing with the cleansing, then you read the 37th chapter, and it tells you where that cleansing is going to begin. And that cleansing begins when the dry bones started to have flesh come upon them, and sinews, and coming together bone to his bone. You know? And you've seen Jake back in the 60s or 70s coming together in unity to speak out against the injustices that were done to them. You know? Whether it was Judah, you know, whether it was Ephraim, Issachar, or whatever whatever of the tribes are here in America, which was the beginning of the awakening. This is why America, Babylon the Great, plays a big part in end-time prophecies. And anyone that says that America is not in the scriptures, they do not know the scriptures. Because America played an integral part, I had to throw a $50 word out there, an integral part in the awakening of the Israelites once again. Beginning with a man by the name of Rabbi Abba Bivens, which we call Elder Abba Bivens, you know, which was John the Baptist and Elijah coming back, and other great men in the past coming back in this time to set the heart of the children to the fathers and the heart of the fathers to the children. And from that point on, which just happened in New York, specifically Harlem, other men heard that word, heard that calling at midnight, and trimmed their lamps. Some of them stayed with their lamps trimmed, and some of them, their lamp went out, because you had the wise and the foolish. You know, and from that point up until now, 2021, the year of hastening the coming of our Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, there's been a great awakening around the world that came out of America, Babylon the Great, which were those dry bones in the valley that got watered, that got breath put in them. It's fucking wacky-tacky Christians playing games, man. You don't know the power of the Lord. You don't know the first and last thing about the Lord, man. You don't know his plans. That's why you're always trying to change his plans. Trying to insert things into his plans that are not there. If we're going to get to that, Lord's will. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them, and you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I will be your power. Yeah, because we're going to go back to that land. See, right now you have Israelites in the land of Israel that by the so-called Israeli government are being kicked out of there. I believe they said they had like 60 days to get out. A certain amount of them had about 60 days to get out, if I'm not mistaken, on the time frame. Because you don't belong there. The Lord is going to bring us back there in style. The nations are going to be bringing, once His kingdom is being established, the nations are going to be bringing our sons and daughters on their shoulders, being glorified as a sacrifice given to the Lord, as an offering given to the Lord. That's why the so-called Israeli government is saying that certain amount of Jakes that were actually born there, lived there all their life, got to go. They got to be out of there. I believe it's 60 days, if I'm not mistaken. If a brother knows the exact time frame, they could actually mention it in the comment section. But a few brothers sent it to me yesterday, but I don't really remember, and I can't pull it up because my phone I'm using for the filming. Anyways, that was it. Now let's go back to Hebrews chapter 9, and we read 9 again. Okay, 60 days. Okay, the water. It says, which was a figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience. That's why our minds had to be changed. Right? It says, which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings and carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of reformation. What's reformation? What is a time of reformation? A reformation is a forming again. Convert is to return. Reconciliation is to be brought back into the good graces of someone. All of these terms do not fit with the other nations, because the other nations were never a part of this. The only part that they played, as they always played, are being servants. They were always looked at as being nothing by the Heavenly Father. Yes, He created them. He is their God because He created them. But there's only one people on the planet Earth that He chose. And He chose and He gave us laws, statutes, and commandments to approach unto Him, to be close to Him. And we messed up. But the Lord's still going to have mercy on the nation of Israel. All right, here we go. Yep, 45 Israelites, 60 days. Yeah, Canaan, Israel, you had the elder Menatazakba, and you have a brother Judah, Israel. Spokesman of group says, Interior Ministry gave notice at least 46 families that they must leave country within 60 days, despite much of community having permanent residency. That's right. That's right. And shalom to the, if the apostles may be watching, elders, you brothers out there, shalom, and Yahweh Shemel Shai Barakathum to all of y'all. Please don't be offended when we don't address each and every brother on the comment board, and acknowledge everybody. It's a lot of work to do, so we just try to, we do what vocab does, as far as painting a broad stroke, but he does it in wickedness. We're doing it in the hopes to be able to accommodate everyone that is to be accommodated. All right. So Salaka, if we don't always get back to you, hey, shalom, brother, because imagine having to do that 200 times a day. Hey, shalom, Yahweh Shabbat. Oh, shalom, Yahweh. It'll be too much. So don't be offended. All right, so let's look up this word reformation. And this is why they use that terminology during the I want to say 1600s. It's been a while since I went back to that, but you had the Protestants, you had them fighting against the Roman Catholics, and you had, because they were the same people that broke off from each other, from the same religion, and some went into something called the Reformation, so on and so forth, because they were trying to form something else. But this reformation is talking about the reformation of the bringing back or the renewing of the people of the Lord. So we got Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 10. I want to go to that word reformation. It doesn't really say too much, so we may have to go, let's see, reformation, diorthosis. In a physical sense, a making straight, restoring to its natural and normal condition, something which in some way protrudes or has got out of line, as broken or misshapen limbs. And this is why you had what? The valley of the dry bones. And the dry bones were in a dead state, and they had to be breathed upon again to come back to life. Of acts and institutions, reformation, meaning to straighten thoroughly. All right. Now let's look up. Let's see what it says for reformation in the Common Dictionary. Let's see what it says there. I got an offline one, so it's limited. But when you break the word down, re is back, and form is to form, to reform again. So let's type in reformation, or let me just type in reform. Let's see what it says for reform. A change for the better as a result of correcting abuses. A campaign aimed to correct abuses or malpractices, self-improvement in behavior or morals by abandoning some vice, make changes for improvement in order to remove abuse and injustices. Let's just try reformation, which that's all good. That's all good, because that's what being born again is all about. Reformation, improvement or an intended improvement in the existing form or condition of institutions or practices, etc., intended to make a striking change for the better in social or political or religious affairs. Oh, here we go. A religious movement of the 15th century. Yep, the 1500s. The 16th century that began as an attempt to reform the Roman Catholic Church and resulted in the creation of Protestant churches. That's right. You know, but this is dealing with right here, number 3, rescuing from error and returning to a rightful course. So, as I've been questioning before, if we were born into sin, what are we going to be restored back to? Back to our pristine state, which all nations did not have that. Only the nation of Israel. Get that through your thick demonic skull. But you're not. But it's all good. So going back. Oh, and then when you look up that word, let me see if it breaks it down. Oh yes. Origin from a compound of G1223, which we have G1223 is dia, through, of place, with, of time, during, of means, through. So through, straightening. Now we go to the other word, the other root word, which is orthos, straight, erect, upright, straight, not crooked. So in other words, to restore back to the non-crooked way. And what was that? The nation of Israel, back when the Lord first created us. And he said he created us. Matter of fact, let's get it. This is the book of Jeremias, which is Spanish for Jeremiah. Chapter 2, verse 20. For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I will not transgress. When upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest playing the harlot. And that's what happened. All them different idols that newly came up, Jacob's right there. Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked and forgot the Lord. Right? It says, yet I had planted thee what? A noble vine. A vine of prestige, a vine of royalty. You know? It says, wholly a right seed, meaning the whole nation was created as a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? And that's what happened. We turned into a degenerate plant. So if you have something that's degenerate and you want to reform it, you have to restore it back to its original form. And all nations did not receive that. This is why the Lord said, when I bring you into these different nations, to take their land, you better make sure you don't do according to their deeds. Because for this reason is why I'm kicking them out of this land, because of the deeds that they're doing. So don't be emboldened to doing this, because if you do, then this is what's going to happen to you. So and so and such, and this and that and the other. And that's where we get Deuteronomy 28:15 on down to 68. That's some of the curses that fell upon our people. And these devils try to negate that. Anyways, moving on. Back in Hebrews 9:11, but Yahushua being coming high priest of good things to come, because he's a high priest up in the heavens after the order of Melchizedek, which was the priesthood of the Lord prior to the law being written on a stone, given to Moses to give to us. It says, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, which is Yahushua's body, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place. And that holy place, should I say, not made with hands, that's up in the heavens. That's the tabernacle up in the heavens, which Moses, when he set everything up on the earth for the priests to do what they had to do, he set it up as he saw in the heavens. That's where the Lord allowed him to see it, so he can make sure that he made it and wrote it down and did it precisely as he saw. He entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. Yeah, and eternal redemption is what? Being brought back into the good grace, or being bought back. When you redeem something, you buy it back. Because Yahushua is the only one that can redeem us. Because we can't redeem each other anymore. We don't have that power to redeem each other anymore like we did in the past, when the laws, when we were under the covenant of the law, so to speak. We still are, but, we have redemption through Yahushua's blood. It says, for if the blood of bulls and goats and ashes of an heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sanctified to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Yahushua, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to the Most High, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living power. And that's the point, the conscience. Because we have that evil root still. But the Lord has mercy on us to where we're able to still function in this truth, even with that malignity of the root in us, until our change comes. It says, and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by me, the New Testament is what? Not from Matthew to Revelation, even though you could put that as part of it, but the New Testament is the new covenant, which is the laws being written in our inward parts when we're changed. And this is why these wacky-tacky Christians are bugged out, because they don't understand the difference between covenants and testament and agreements and the meaning of these words. And when it applies to what? They accuse us of cherry picking, but they're the ones that cherry pick, because they're cherry picking by the standards that the devil, the enemy, the deceiver, has given them. How the hell are you going to have a devil telling you how to break your book down? That makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. Here it is, you have the devil telling you, how it is, and then he benefits, and you're always at the bottom. I finished watching that series on Amazon Prime, Them, and I know a brother did a lesson on the covenant, and they brought it out towards the end of that come on, man, fucking ridiculous. They brought it out towards the end, that the covenant that they were speaking about was really to Jake, and telling them how they would be cursed, certain little slight things they were throwing out there, that someone that has understanding as to what's really going on, they'd be like, yeah, they know, because these devils know that Jake, ultimately are the ones that are going to receive, the blessings and the covenant. They were talking about, this is our birthright, and pretty much they were right, but you gave up that birthright, dog. It would be nice to take those parts and just put them, back to back, just those little slight things that were in the series and just put them back to back so you can watch it back to back and you can see, yeah, these devils know. Call it, yeah, these devils know. All right, so going back, and for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, which is the laws being put into our inward parts, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgression that were under the first testament. See, which was what? The Old Testament, not the Old Testament as far as the books of the Old Testament, but the law, the covenant, the blood sacrifice of animals. That's what you have to understand. They which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance, because that promise is key. That promise is only given to one people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which we're almost getting to that part. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. And that's why Yahweh had to die, in order to make that will or that testament of effect. Because his blood is what sealed the deal. Just like when Moses read the law to us, and after we agreed, what happened? He took the blood of those bulls and animals, and that's what sealed the deal. That's what married us to the Lord. That was the signature. Because the Lord requires a blood signature. You know? Man, Satan jumping on everybody, man. Inside joke. It says, listen good. For a testament is of force after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. And this is why Yahweh had to die, shed his blood, to seal the second covenant. But the second covenant will not be fulfilled unto the kingdom of heaven when we're changed and the laws put into our inward parts. That's the perfection of it. Now, let's go from there to Galatians chapter 3. You know, Satan, you know, he just made them, that person, you should see they're about, I say about a good 80 to 100 yards away, almost a football field away. And see how loud that shit is? It doesn't sound muffled. I mean, that's a bad cut, you know, but, you know, damn, there's a time and chance for everything. I ain't gonna hate on the song, it's a bad cut, but, you know. Oh, by the way, that was a High Priest Aria's favorite song. You know? Anyway. All right, Galatians 3:14. That the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles. Oh, there it goes, close the book. Those Gentiles are Israelites, Israelite foreigners. That the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles, Israelite foreigners, through Yahushua HaMashiach, right? That we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. And that promise, let's get that real quick. Let's get the word promise. Let's see what that says. I looked it up earlier, but promise in Hebrews. Oh man, damn. Oh no, that's Galatians. Galatians 3. Yeah, I guess the Lord heard because they turned it down. All right, promise. Evangelia, which is what you also get the word evangelion, which is a message. A promise is a message. Evangelia, which is epi is upon, you know, like you have an epidemic upon or among the people. A promise is an evangelia. It's a message among the people, right? It says announcement, promise, the act of promising, a promise given or to be given, a promised good or blessing. All right? Message, because the word angel is messenger. It also means angel, but it's a messenger. So it says that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Brethren, I speak after the manner of men, though it be but a man's covenant, yet if it be confirmed, how was it confirmed? By the blood of Yahushua. No man disannulleth or addeth thereto. And this is why you have these plantation Christians like Vocab, No Class Malone, James White the Edomite, Shem Shamoon the Whale, David Bugged Out Woods, you know, and the rest of them clowns that are trying to help and faithful to the devil, and all the rest of them, the shit squad that are trying to change the covenant, the promise, and the message of the Most High. Finished, done, through. And they're disannulling and they're adding to it, because they're taking away Israel and adding all people, all heathens, to the message of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Reading on, it says, now to Abraham and his seed, singular, were the promises made. Come on, man. It says, he saith not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed, which is Yahushai. Which, if you could receive it, that's Isaac. The scripture saying that that's Isaac. And then Isaac is where the promise went through, from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. Now, let's go from there. Let's go to the book of Hebrews 11. I was reading this earlier, and then I had one of those wow moments. Hebrews 11 and 9. By faith, listen good, Abraham, the father of the promise, one of the fathers of the promise, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, which was what? The land of Canaan, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. Right? By faith, he sojourned in the what? In the land of promise. What's the land of promise? The land of Canaan that was given to who? All nations? No, the nation of Israel. Letting you know that the promise that was, when you go back to Genesis, the 12th chapter, that promise is talking about the nation of Israel, that indeed all nations of the earth shall be blessed. Why? Because your seed is going to be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And that's what the blessing is, in those Israelites, or in that seed that's spread around, that came from you, Abraham, through your son Isaac, through your son Jacob, or grandson Jacob. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with who? With Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. Come on, vocab. You got to cut that shit out. But you're not going to cut it out. You're the devil. That's what you do. That's what you're paid to do. And that's what you're going to continue to do. And I just want to give you a special shout out and a special thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing what you do, because you give us topics to go into. You know, you give us ideas for lessons, you know, outside of the other ideas that come. So I just want to give you a very warm and hearty thank you from the bottom of my heart for being the devil that you are and doing what you do and giving us all of these ideas for lessons, because what you're doing through the Spirit is cementing this truth and cementing this message more and more. The harder you try to go, the harder the Spirit goes. All right, let's go to, I wanted to look up something. I wanted to look up something. All right, let's go to Hebrews 11 and 9. I want to look up Hebrews 11 and 9. So thank you, vocab. You know, thank you. All right, we're going to look up the word heirs. The heirs with him. See what that says. Wow. Sukleronomos. A fellow heir, a joint heir. And we're joint heirs with Yahushai. One who obtains something assigned to himself with others, a joint participant. And it gave you, because what is a testament? A testament is a will. In the will, if you're not mentioned in the will, and the will is signed, guess what? You don't get nothing. You don't get any, you don't partake of none of that. If there's a will, which is a testament, a covenant, and you are not mentioned in that covenant, guess what? It's signed, you get nothing. I don't give a damn how much you think that you feel that you should receive anything from that blessing or that inheritance. You get none if you're not a part of it. That's a lesson right there. You get none if you ain't a part of it. All right, now let's go back. Let's go back. I want to look up one more word. That was heirs. It says, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Let's look up the word same. Hautus, himself, herself, themselves, itself, he, she, it, the same promise. And then the word promise, I'm not sure. Oh, what did I do? Oh man, I'm in this quagmire now. I forgot how to get out of this quagmire here. Satan jumping on everybody. I forgot how to get out of here. Oh, fuck. Salakia, I got a little too excited, so... Yeah, it's this app. I'm not really sure how to... Here we go, Barakateh, how about Shemel Shai? And the word last one is promise. Epangelia, which we looked already. Epangelia, which is among the message, which is Angelos' message. And that's the promise. The promise or the message is to the nation of Israel. That's why you have evangelion or evangelist, which is, you know, the good news, which is the gospel. So going back to Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 17, it says, for a testament is of force after men are dead. Otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people, according to the law, which is who? The Israelites, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the testament which the Most High hath enjoined unto you. That's why the Lord said, I am married unto you. And that goes back to the book of Exodus 24. That was made with the nation of Israel. And then the Lord came back in Jeremiah 31 and said, look, the first covenant was with Israel and with Judah, and the second covenant is going to be with Israel. It never changed, man. Exodus 24:1, and he said unto Moses, come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. Verse 4, and Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. He must have did at least some other pillars for the other nations, right? And sent young men to the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said, we will do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath enjoined hath made with you concerning all these words, you Israelites. Stop playing, man. So going back to Hebrews 9 and 20, saying, this is the blood of the testament which the Most High hath enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry, and almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the pattern of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. That's right, and that's why Yahushua shed his blood. For Yahushua is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, which is up in the heavens. That's why he said, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It says, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of the Most High for us. Not yet that he should offer himself often as a high priest entereth into the holy place every year with blood of others, for then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, because the end of the world started 2,000 years ago, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. That's what sealed the deal of the second covenant, which will be fulfilled, fully fulfilled in the kingdom of heaven, when the laws are put into our inward parts. And as it is appointed once unto men once to die, and after this the judgment. And that's dealing with Yahushua, because he died once. He's not going to keep coming back here over and over and over again, going through the same sacrifice year after year after year, going through the same hardships, the same prayers, the same tears, the same blood and sweat. Oh no, hell no. When he said it is done, he meant that. And that was it, because he didn't want to go on that cross. Nevertheless, he was obedient to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and because he loved us, he did it. It says, and as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment, so Yahushua was once offered to bear the sins of many of Israel. And unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. See, and this is why these devils, they use certain scriptures, to incorporate everybody, because the message is clear in what's being said. Yahushua said, go not to the way of the Gentiles, to any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. It's understood that the Lord was dealing with the nation of Israel only. But you have other scriptures that are not so plain up about it. Why? Because the Lord is not going to keep every verse repeating the same thing over and over again. But when you're able to put it together, you piece the puzzle, take the pieces of the puzzle and put them together, you paint the picture that the Lord has, and that's only for the nation of Israel to be saved. That's it, man. That's it. So that's it for the lesson. Like I said, it was a land back off of the lesson yesterday. Plus, I read that the Hebrews 9, and then a certain point hit me in the 17th verse about the testament, which led me to a precept that I read, which was Galatians, the 3rd chapter, which shows you that you can't add or take away from the promises that the Lord hath enjoined between himself and us. That's why he said, I am married unto you. And then Hebrews 11 and 8 and 9, that just sealed the deal, because that gave it the seal, because it said that the promise that the Lord gave to Abraham, and he dwelt in tabernacles with those that were heirs of the promise with him, which said Isaac and Jacob. It didn't mention anybody else. And let's say that the promise that the Lord gave to Abraham, let's say it was to all his seeds. Well, what happened to Ham? What happened to Japheth? What happened to the other sons of Shem? Because there was only one line. From Abraham, you had Ishmael, you had Isaac, you had the 6 sons of Keturah, then you had Jacob and Esau. And those would be the only people that would get the promise, if that was the case. But it was specific because there was one seed that the Lord was dealing with, and that is the nation of Israel. That was a promised seed through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And no amount of supersessionism or replacement theology can change that. Those are the words of men. That is the madness of men. Let the Most High be true, but every man a liar. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.